Hello and welcome to another video. We're going to have a look at this handy heater. It's a 500 watt heater and apparently it's now even more powerful than was before. This is the 230 volt model. Going to plug it directly into the wall, never use it with an extension, etc. So they're suggesting you can use it in your office, dorm, living room, garage, a dressing room or a bedroom. Okay, but easy heat anywhere. Now what strikes me is this on the front. When you look at the plug here, they've very blatantly got a North American style socket, which is where these first came out, and just superimposed the pins of a UK socket on there. But what we'll do now is I'll zoom back out again and we will get into the box. Heater thing, some safeguards. Let's put that out the way. Bit of an instruction manual. Interestingly, again, there's still no mention of mains voltage. And it's not till we get here that we actually start talking about what to run it off. It is literally the only difference we're seeing between the North American model and here is literally this sticker, and I would imagine it's been imported under a different brand. So let's plug it in and see what it does. Okay, there's a fan there, look, a heater block there, and obviously some controls on the top, speed, timer, and I'm guessing some sort of temperature. I've got this little adapter here which lets me go to an IEC. So that means I can connect it up sat on the bench. So we'll turn this on. It appears to be telling us the temperature in Fahrenheit. We've got two little lights on there, and to be quite honest, I can put my hand here and hold it here, and the amount of heat that this thing is producing is kind of comical. Now low. Let's see what makes it tick. What I will say is, under normal circumstances here in the UK, when we have an electric heater, it's normally 3000 watts. Now obviously the reason it says it has to be used on a wall permanently is if you put it down on something, it blocks this air intake here. It also says do not disassemble. So let's void the warranty. I will say one of the things that is nice is they have at least got the pins insulated correctly, and the earth is not used because this is double insulated, so they've used a plastic pin. I wonder what size fuse there is in there. Now this is 500 watts, so they could put a 3 amp fuse in this quite happily. What we got, what we got, what we got. A 5 amp fuse. Okay, that's nice. 1200 watts, roughly 1200 watts, 1250, depending on how you do calculations. There's no screws under there. What's going on? What's going on? Come on, it's got to come apart somewhere. Well, I have to say, there's far more in there than I expected to see. So, let us have a further look. Interestingly, one of the interesting things is this here. This is a level switch, so if it's tipped over, it will turn itself off. Let's just have a quick look at that. So in that position, it's going to run. Okay, it's not happy with me having taken it apart. Oh well, who cares? Just unplug them. I'll put that to one side. So we've got a little control circuit, board at the top here with the buttons and the LCD display. There's a relay here, which I would assume switches the power on and off. I want this dropper circuit here to run the electronics. Potentially, okay, that's going to run the LEDs. I would suggest that's the thermometer, that's the fan. So let's unplug some of this and let's take it apart. Okay, that one unplugged from there. Unplug the output to the heaters. Okay, there's the board. We'll come back to that. So on the bottom here, we've got a fan. I wonder what voltage it is, whether it's 12 volts or 5. We'll have a look and see. It's a 12 volt fan. We'll have a look at that closer. So we can see in there the ceramic heating element. There is the thermostat, so that's the stat that's telling it what temperature it is. Okay, let's take a few more screws out. There appears to be some sort of air guide cowl here. So I'm looking at this. This is the heater itself. It's a ceramic heater. AC 30, so it says it's a 500 watt heater. Now what's interesting here is we've got a centre tap and 2 lots of 230, so there is 2 230 volt heaters here, one there and one there. Now the element itself actually says it's a 230 volt element, so I wouldn't, obviously it's a different element when they make them for 120 volt countries. And we have here in circuit with this a final overheat. This here is set at a predefined temperature that when it exceeds it, it will trip off and disable the power to the heater. Can't really see any info on it is other than it says it's a H20X. I expected to see some sort of temperature on there. So there's the heater assembly. Down the bottom here we've got those orange LEDs that are there to make it feel as though it's getting you nice and warm. Okay, there's the control panel. Seven segment LED display. When we look at this, we've got ground 5 volt, fan 1 and 2, temperature, int, RX and TX. So the buttons are individually wired back, and then there's a controller for the display on there. And I sort of just kind of keep that for a minute and put that out of the way. And then we'll have a look at this part here where we've got this power switch and we've got the socket, so we'll take that out as well. Okay. Just pushing these in. Squeeze and unplug. And then finally we'll take these 2 screws out. They get us into the 13 amp connector. Okay, so we're not going to get that apart any further. What I am going to do is I'm going to make sure that the fuse is actually wired up. So when I touch these together, it'll beep. There's the fuse connected to there. That's connected to there. So the fuse is in circuit. Kind of wondering what the resistance of the heater is. Call it 400 ohms. So I'm going to just pop in these figures into this handy dandy little calculator. we'll call the mains voltage 230 and calculate it. So according to the old interweb, when we put these figures in, 400 ohms, 230 volts will draw half an amp, 132 watts. So the 500 watts that they were claiming that this isn't nowhere near, which, yeah, that's just mad. So this isn't even kick out the power that it should do. Right, so having salvaged this, I've got a little fan here, 12 volt fan. I'll use that for something. Power switch, that'll get used for something. A 5 amp fuse, Bushman fuse, that'll get used for something. Got a 12 volt relay on here. If nothing else, I'll reuse the relay, and possibly some of the bits of the wattless dropper. Kind of an interesting little circuit. I'll zoom into that in a minute. Buttons and display, they're going to go in the useful box. And even this has a use when you're dealing with older gear, to put a resistive loading circuit with it. It's quite useful to stop things blowing up. Well, let's have a look at the path of power on this. Right, so this is the board that's come out, and we can see that we've got heat output, AC live, AC neutral. So let's flip that over. So the heat output is coming directly from the output of the relay. The two ACs are going through capacitor and resistor, and then being halfway rectified by the looks of it. Diode 1, diode 2. They just put two diodes in circuit. What are they doing that for? Smoothed and possibly regulated, and then there's just a little control circuit here. A lot of surface mount stuff. I'm not going to dive into what this is. Looks like they've rubbed some of the number off that one. These, if I decide not to use the board, I will salvage these 0 ohm resistors because they can be quite useful for repairing stuff. They're effectively fuses. You've got the tilt switch as well there. That might be useful for something. Won't take that out, but that is what is inside one of these little fans you see there. Look, 230 volt, 500 watt. Quite often when we have heaters here in the UK, they're 3000 watts. The same as across Europe, they tend to be 3000 watt heaters. Ultimately, a 200 watt heater is not going to heat anything more than a shoebox. It is a pretty pointless device to have plugged in, because unless you're sat on top of it, you're not going to feel the heat from it. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and have a look at some of the other videos. There's various other bits and pieces. There's stuff I tried to repair and stuff I took apart. So enjoy. Thank you.